Hello, my name is Larry Bowles. I live in Edmond, Oklahoma, and I've been a model railroader for over 30 years. I recently did a couple videos on my two layouts, Siouxtown and Harbortown. I received a lot of comments on my detailing on these layouts. So let me show you some of the techniques that I use. You can't go very far in your town without seeing a fence or a wall. They can be new or broken down and dilapidated. They protect property and people. Walls are used to enclose industrial operations. Fences discourage intruders around active plant operations and protect workers around high-risk exposures. In an industrial area, you'll find heavy use of fencing and walls around properties. They are an important feature of most scenes you see in an area. In light commercial areas in downtown, fences and walls are even more prevalent. They serve two important roles. They establish property boundaries and they protect property from theft and trespassing. My point is, I've never seen a layout with too many fences and walls, but I've seen a lot with few or none. There are lots of retail choices to find great fences or walls, but I scratch build a lot of fences in wood and use various sidings to glue balsa for walls. It allows you to create a variety in your scenes. While we're taking a minute to look around, let's look at creeks and ditches. This creek was the first landscaping feature I did on the layout. It was located on the layout without any consideration of the track plan. In other words, if the track plan took track over the creek wasn't going to move, the track had to have a bridge. In one respect, the creek is a significant feature on the layout, but is blended so well into its surroundings, it's hardly noticed. When you start looking around, you'll find all kinds of drainage systems, even some old bogs. Many are heavily overgrown, particularly in old industrial areas. The railroads use a lot of ditches to protect their tracks against erosion. The Nano 360 LED is on the left clamp. The sticky light is on the right. They both have adjustable brightness and they both come from woodland scenes. I've used a lot of the sticky lights and their lit street lights on both my layouts. When I first saw the nano lights, I really didn't think I would have use for them. But I was wrong. I quickly realized they opened up a whole new source of lighting applications that none of their other products could really do. The thin wire with the 360 bulb on the end lends itself to a lot of installations, particularly warning lights on tall structures. They are easy to use in these kind of applications. Another great application was the flashing yellow caution at the approach to the tunnel. Another thought was using and attaching them to the background flats and even the wallpaper scenery backgrounds that lots of guys use on their layouts. I'm going to show you a short clip here on how to make an intersection light. Take a thin piece of tubing, cut it to length, drill a hole in the tube, not through the tube, near the top. Run the nano light up the tube to the hole. I used a pin to coax the nano bulb out of the hole. Now this pole may not be quite to scale, but if you locate it on the corner of a building at the intersection, it won't be noticeable. Cut a thin piece of tubing that the arm extends out over the intersection. I didn't have a blinking nano, which makes a better scene. I finished off the pole on my layout with a little globe I cut off the top of an old lifelike street lamp and put the nano bulb inside of it. Now the flashing yellow caution light was easy. Cut a short length of tubing, drill a hole near the top, insert the flashing yellow nano, put some kind of a cap or a top on the sign pole, paint, and install. I needed some lit channel markers for my N-scale harbor. Drilled a hole through a short length of dowel, run the nano. They came out great. My modeler friend Paul Young, who has the YouTube site Paul Young Trains, found these light strips. You'll find them on the internet. They're not very expensive. Paul placed the strip under the roof over the dock on his building. They come with an adhesive back and are easy to install. They are compatible with Wooden Scenes light systems, so they are adjustable. As I said earlier, nanolights lend themselves well to lighting tall structures. Here's a great example. I had this old water tower I picked up at a train show. The downpipe was missing, so I found some tubing to replace it. Drilled a hole in the base to install it. Next, I drilled a starter hole on top of the roof and then drilled a larger hole for the nano wire to come through. I used a stiff, thin wire brush to fish down through the tank and made sure I got it through the downfill pipe and out, and then connected it to the nano and then pulled it carefully up to the top and secured it. Very easy. They make a wide selection of animated lighting effects for layouts. I use them to highlight some of the smaller scenes at the front of my layout that would not show up very well if they were buried in the back. They also provide some humor for viewers. My auto repair shop is a great example. It draws a lot of attention being up front, and it has a lot of detail that would be missed if it was buried back in the layout. I have 7 train signals on my layout. They are some nice old brass signals I picked up at a train show. They are manually controlled 3-color lights. Signals really add a lot to the look of a layout, particularly if you're running the dark scenes. They can be used on my layout in operating sessions to add some realism and some dispatching duties. The front of my HO layout offers some prime locations to showcase some highly detailed scenes that would be missed if they were farther back in the layout. The oil well site and the hobo overlook a lot of detailed scenes. The auto repair shop is a great example. It has a lot of detail that would be missed if it wasn't up close. When you enter my N-scale room, the first scene you see is the Shell refinery. It's a major focal point on the canal. It took a lot of compression and kit bashing to create this complex facility. But the scene gets a lot of attention from viewers. Dioramas. I call my approach to creating the scenes on my layout dioramas. The term comes from a hobby that creates static displays. First, I pick a location on the layout. I select a building that I think will fit the area. I trace a piece of thin plywood as a footprint of the location and take the base to my bench and create the scene. This includes all the structures, detail parts, signs, weathering, trees, but landscaping. When the scene is complete, I place it back in its location and it's done. Here's a typical example of a structure on the layout. It would be difficult to build on its location, a lot of leaning over the layout. This makes it much easier to complete. I also do this approach when I'm trying to develop landscaping features. I avoid the mess of trying to create permanent topography on the layout. I select an area and develop that section of the scenery at the bench. If it doesn't look right, I take it back and rework it. I do this process in sections on all the landscaping scenes. I don't have to create a mess on the layout. I discovered this idea while building a Bar Mills ice house. It's for my modeler friend, Paul Young. Paul also has the YouTube site, Paul Young Trains. The ice house had a loading chutes. They were fixed in the upright position. Paul wanted them to swing down if possible. Well, I remember a hinge that I used in radio-controlled airplanes years ago. First was hinges on doors. Most structures, kits that you buy, don't come with moving doors. You have to glue them open or closed. This hinge is made out of a neoprene plastic and very strong and flexible. I glued it to the door and to the shed, and it worked. It could be refined. This was really my first attempt. It could also work out with factory windows that people like to have swing out. Next, I tried the chain link fence, but it didn't work very well. The glue didn't stick well to the fence. Then I tried the hinge on a wooden fence gate, and it really turned out well. I think with some study and research, these will work out well in a lot of situations. I appreciate you taking time out to watch my video. I hope you might find some ideas that could work on your layout. Bye now.